Welcome to Turn Right Machine Works, and my name is Keith. Today I'm going to go through my 2HL Kearney Trecker mill. And before I actually get into going through changing out some of the heads and the components and kind of giving a look at it, I want to hit a section of photographs that I have when I acquired this machine. Actually, I brought this from California. I picked it up out in California. And there was a time period where I was running a small machine shop out of my garage. And some people call it a one-car garage, but I think it was like a three-quarter car garage, okay? Maybe a Volkswagen, a Spitfire, MGB, something like that was fit in this garage. So I have a series of photos that I'll be going through, and I'm just going to flip through this because this is going to give you a heads up on what you're going to see. Alright, first photo in here is going to actually show you me 20 years ago. And I'm operating my small South Bend, and this mill is actually on the other side of that bench in the center, and that's where I kind of held it. And then we get into actually seeing different shots of where I've taken this mill. I was taking it apart because it was filthy. This handle was broken off. This little knob was broken off. There was a lot of damage to it. There was broken gears inside, and I had to open it up, get in, and you can see that I pretty well pulled this thing out to parade rest. Then I get it. I actually made a carrier that I could put around two sides here, put a couple bolts in it, and it had wheels front and back, and I could roll this thing in and out, and you can see that I actually got it out in the driveway, and that's where I was doing the bondo and the body work and that kind of thing. So with the rollers made, I could roll this mill in and out of the garage there, and you can see that I set up on blocks, and I was doing the bondo work and the body shooting on there. Around that time, you can see my little guy Eric. He's actually my oldest son. He's graduated college now and out working on his own. And but this is when he was like 2 years old, maybe 1.5, 2 years old, and he is. You can see him, giving me a good hand inside the pictures there. So you can see the detail that I took this thing to parade rest and actually painted the inside of the gearboxes, and I was pretty stickler on detail. One picture there, you can see my Toyota in the background with a primer job. Now it's already come out to the Cape and then went back to California in 1990, and it was rusting out. It needed some work, and I did end up completely putting a new paint job on that as well. So in that picture there, it looks like everything was ruddy brown primer. Then you start seeing the finished paint job coming onto the mill, and onto a white gear. It was the first part. I used to bring home components of the machines at North Star Propeller that were broken or need to be replaced, and I would build them or create. I just couldn't get enough. I worked all during the day, and then I ran my machine shop out of that little garage, and it was called Keith's Machine Shop, and that's how I started working. I mean, you do so much in your shop at night, and you do so much for the company you're actually working for. When you can't handle all of it, that's what you got to make a decision on, whether you're going to jump into it or not for yourself. Just what I came about. After the pictures of the finished product running, there's a series of pictures here showing a real old iron worker. Well, I purchased this mill for $600, but I actually didn't shell out $600 out of my pocket. One of the owners of North Star Propeller offered me a trade-off. They'll handle the $600 for this mill, and I was to finish up and complete the assembly of this iron worker. The shifting cogs and all that. Now this is a flyweight mechanical engagement iron worker, and I mean it's a beastie thing. And they had it up to a certain point, and I finished off the details, and anyway, you can see it sitting in the driveway and pretty well complete, ready to, you know, head on down to North Star propeller again, and then you'll see the finishing touches where the paint job was put on there and the thing was complete. And then, of course, we sold it off to a company down in Mexico, and that's where it ended up going. And that's how I appropriated this mill. And so I kind of wanted to run those through. Here it is. The one basic thing, I mean, on the Bridgeport, your spindle mills and stuff like that, you'll have an R8 collet. Okay, everybody that's run a Bridgeport knows what R8s are. Now, on this head, spindle coming out, all the tooling that goes with this is a number 40 taper. And number 40 taper is a Pacific taper that's set up for this size mill with a drawbar and a tang lock. And this happens to be an end mill holder. This is a drill chuck, and you can also run large shell mills. Now, you'll notice some of these number 40 tapers have got this little snout on here, and this is basically the old school style number 40 tapers. In the new school, where they started making CNC and automated machinery and tool holders, automated locking tool holders, they designed them without this small tang, and they had a little ring up here that engages grabbing mechanisms. And I'm not all hip on that because I haven't ran any of those machines. I've been pretty well a conventional machinist all my life. Both styles of holder still work in any of the machines. Alright, there's looking up at the 40 taper receiver on the head, and this section of the head is held on with 4 bolts here, and you can loosen those and you can swivel the head, and your degree indications are right here, and there's your 0, and they're graduated around in this direction here. Now this head also has 4 bolts that bolt on here, and the 4th one's down here, and it has your 0 indicator here and your degrees here. So this is a bi-directional universal head for this machine. Alright, we're gonna remove this head, and I'll show you how this mounts on there. And basically you got four bolts, 2 on this side here, and it holds this finger in on the dovetail side of that head or body there. Now this machine has its own carrier for the head itself, And I have two heads that could mount up here. And I mount this one up here, and I'm going to show you about this before I go into this other head that I have for it. Alright. Now, this is your 40 taper coming out this way, and this is a gear. Now, I made the blank for this gear and set up the center and all of this for this drive. It was missing. I acquired this head, which when it was brand new was probably about a $10,000 head, and it was given to me, but I didn't have this gear. Now, I made this out of 8620, and then I sent it up to Worcester Gear Professionals in gear cutting, and they took it and cut the right helical gear to match this gear here. I supplied that and this, and also they had a guy that was familiar with my machine, and they handled cutting that. Alright, so this head can swing around, and this mill has, this is clearance for the gear, but has two drawbars here set up to go ahead and swing this and mount it on there. So let me just swing this around here, and it sets right there, right out of your way. Alright, we're going to go ahead and pull this gear off of here, because I'm going to demonstrate a couple other features here. Now, one thing I did learn, and when they heat treat this gear here, they heat treat it to a hardness a little less or a little bit more than the mating gear. Gears in a line are not all the same hardness. They got to be different hardnesses so that they wear even. All right. Now this has two round holes here, and I made two drive pins here instead of squares. I chose to run round ones, and they've been doing just fine. And that's how that locates onto here. Now for my next head, I also, in fact, by the way, I made this, it's still stamped turn right 96 in here. I held off on this blank here a little bit on getting it cut because the material cost me a couple $100 for the 1 foot blank of, I believe it was 8620 I made this out of, and then they had it carburized, hardened, whatever they do. This blank here is my other head drive, and this is stamped 95. So it was sometime between 95 and 96 that I put together the operating components for this mill here. And same thing, round drives back here, and then this one has a pin, and I'll show you the head that's going to mount on. Alright. Okay, and then your 4 bolts will go in on that, and then this pin protrudes into this is the back side. This locks on your dovetail the same as the other, and then that pin comes in here and then rotates this item, this crank, and the crank turns and runs a ram up and down, a jumping jack. Here you can see the connecting rod right there. This is a tool block. Your tools go up into here just like a jumping jack or a slotting head that you would have on the Bridgeport